Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
I'm working on becoming a guru.
So is that, you have to make that noise?
I think so. I mean, every time I picture a guru, recently I've watched a Netflix series about a guru that built a massive commune in Oregon and had all these different people following him, the Rajneeshas. And the sannyasins. They had an Indian guru in the 80s built a commune in next to Antelope, Oregon.
Was this a cult?
Yeah, basically it was. And they ran him out of the country. It was crazy. It's called Wild Wild Country. You should check it out. It's on Netflix. It's like a 6-part series. And I had no idea that it even occurred, but it got me thinking, what's a guru? And you hear the term thrown around a lot. And, obviously, it means a little something different to different people. But I started thinking, I was like, what is a guru? How do we become gurus? And how do you get to the point where you have achieved guru status? So I know that some people like yourself have been declared masters.
Well, when I Google guru, it says in Hinduism and Buddhism, a spiritual teacher, especially one who imparts initiation.
Yeah, and so that can mean a number of different things. And I think that the origins of the term guru have been around for a long time. If you go into that, that traditional definition, I mean, it's back as far as being written in Sanskrit, which is quite old, talking about, a teacher, a guide, an expert, or a master. But so how do you become one? And I mean, I think that you hear the term guru thrown around for, I mentioned it as like for the sannyasins,
Mm-hmm.
that was a religious thing. It was basically built around yoga and sex and all kinds of interesting stuff. But it's not always the way that it's used. I think more so in the business term, you hear a lot of guru definitions being thrown around. And so I thought we could talk it out, man. I thought we could talk it out.
The one that comes to mind for me is Yoda.
True. And, we've been watching Star Wars here this week. And so Yoda's character apparently was designed after like a Zen or Buddhist master, which is why he talks the way he must, do you think Yoda's friends are ever like, dude, come on, enough with the guru talk?
Yeah.
But when that character was being written, it was with the intent of, he was kind of that Zen Buddhist master, which is why he phrases his speaking. But, the definition of a guru is a personal religious teacher or spiritual guide. It's also a teacher or an intellectual guide in matters of fundamental concern, one who is an acknowledged leader or chief, a person with a lot of knowledge or expertise.
And for some of us, it's just grandpa. Our grandpa is the guru
Right.
of all things for whatever reason.
Well, and that's
Right.
been the whole point. Is like as I started watching that recent documentary, and I was like, okay, so this guy's a guru, but I hear other, for example, Seth Godin, who's a very well-known author in the business space. People often refer to him as a guru. And, he's written a lot of books on the subject. Now, I've written 3 books, but people don't call me a guru.
No.
So at what point do you turn?
Well,
at what point do you turn the corner?
Well, we recently did an episode about Jiro Dreams of Sushi. I mean, he's obviously the guru of sushi.
True.
He's the man.
So, obviously there's a level of expertise that comes into guru status. And you've actually heard me talk about this for quite a while, because I think that that on many levels, the path to wanting to becoming a guru is obviously it's centric around expertise. I think you may actually become a guru without trying to on some levels. Like you just kind of get good at whatever it is. And we use Jiro Dreams of Sushi. That's an 85-year-old sushi chef that got 3 Michelin stars out of a 10-seat restaurant and a Japanese Subway. That if you watch that movie, that dude is just obsessed with his craft.
Yep.
So, I think we get into it. So let's first talk about like, all right, so what are some of the components of a guru? Like you said it could be anything from grandpa to Yoda, but sometimes in some families, those two look the same. Right?
Yes.
Like, so I think Yoda was 900 years old, and some people's grandparents are as well. But let's talk first about what are some of the components, because this is what I think is important. I think there are people that are self-proclaimed gurus, and I'm not sure that there's a level of authenticity there that exists. So, let's first have some discussion when it comes to guru status and what exactly needs to occur for you to obtain it. First thing I've got on my list is, you got to be knowledgeable.
Yep. And
so,
well, and as you said, I think even before that, it's got to come from a third party point of view, right? You can't say like I'm a guru at whatever. Like that's fine. I mean, that's like saying I'm the smartest guy in the room. But I think to really be a guru at something, it's got to be like a third party community thing that determines like, okay, this guy is the guru.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that guru status is achieved for him. And by the way, I don't think it can truly be defined. I think as we start to define it, I don't know if you truly can define it. I think it definitely starts with that level that you have to be knowledgeable, like an industry guru. Like that's where you hear things thrown around a lot. I mean, that could be anything from the music industry to business to religion to a specific thing. So I think that you have a vertical that you have specialized in and developed a mastery. Since gurus are largely referred to as experts or influential teachers, they need to know all of the ins and outs of whatever it is that they're knowledgeable about. And, someone that's demonstrating competence by sometimes making hard decisions, and sometimes decisions that aren't always popular or mainstream. I think you hear a lot of, and sometimes they are, but, I think that it's someone that's also well equipped through their knowledge of like dealing with challenges. So what's something that, when you think of the guru checklist, what do you have?
Well, I think the one thing you just said there is about being a leader, being an influencer, being on the cutting edge. Sometimes is how people become a guru. Like they're the person who is outspoken about something. And sometimes it can be, somebody who is following the flow of everybody else and they're just like, the leader of it. Or it could be somebody who is like taking the opposite or a different approach, right? Like they're doing things a different way and they're the guru because of that. Right. I mean, you have gurus like on kind of both sides of that. At one point in time, I might have been a guru of automotive software 10 years ago.
I agree. I think but I don't think that's a has-been, because people call Full Scale, which by the way, today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io, helping you build a software team quickly and affordably. But people I've fielded a lot of incoming and inbound stuff where people actually referred to you as a guru of automotive software. Yep. But that came with experience.
Yep. It's experience.
So what year did you guys start Vince Solutions?
2003, and then I left there at the end of 2011.
Okay, so in the world of software, 2003 is ancient.
Yes, long time ago.
Like that's almost. Did you code it in Sanskrit?
No, but it was one of the first SaaS, online cloud-based software products.
So that's experience.
Mm-hmm.
deep industry experience. And I think one of the things, if you were assessing like guru status, I don't think you can be new to anything and be a guru.
No, you're just
Okay,
pretender then.
Yeah, so some of the popular theories around mastery is what 5 to 10,000 hours.
Yes, exactly.
So and I am on the fly, like doing the math on that. Like, how many 8-hour days is that?
In some ways, I think you're not a guru until you learn all the ways not to do something. Right?
Well, but that's part of it.
You're like, I've seen this fail 1,000 times for all of these reasons. I can tell you why not to do this shit, why you're going to fail. And then conversely, like why things work as well. So you just have to have the experience to being around the block long enough to know what works, what doesn't work, and have that kind of, I think, sixth sense, that gut feeling about how things work.
Yeah, well, and that's what comes with experiences. And I think that's where experience is valuable when it comes to leadership or teaching or establishing who a mentor is you mentioned that failure. And as I've talked to different people about, subjects related to this is a lot of times you see that Padawan learner like Luke Skywalker or whoever, and they have to learn some of the tough lessons because it's very easy to since we're sticking with Star Wars examples, when Anakin Skywalker felt that he was far more evolved than he was, and that his skills were at a point that they weren't yet, and it led him down the wrong path. And I think that's something until you've and the recent trials and tribulations associated with COVID-19. I look back because I remember 2008 quite vividly, and that, and a lot of people don't because they weren't old enough or they were in college or whatever. And on some levels, I think a guru has the ability to have a calming feel about them.
About
like
people,
I think
to people around them.
Yes. And that's where that experience and that wisdom comes from. I think while you can be charismatic as a guru, I think a lot of the times when you picture them, they're like, okay, look, people, this is how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I've been down this road before. I've seen this occur a couple times. There's this, there's that, based on my experience. So, all right. So I think one of the next things, if you really want, you have to be we'll say an effective doer. Mm-hmm. You have to be how can you be a guru if you are not a practitioner at some point? And I know this episode's already ripe with Star Wars comparisons, so why not? But we were watching those, and having the Star Wars day have been recently passed. We've been watching it with our kids because why not? But Yoda seems like this little dude with a cane and a robe that doesn't get around too well until he whips out that lightsaber, and all of a sudden he's bouncing around the room and doing backflips. And you're like, whoa, dude, I didn't even realize you could do that. Mm-hmm. So is he an effective doer?
Well, I think it's interesting because people who are gurus at some point in time in their career, do they do less and less, and they have a team that helps them, but they are always set the bar, right? Like we talk about, like, Jiro dreams of sushi. He's got his sons that work for him and apprentices and everybody else. He has trained all of them, but they are all scared shitless of him, right? And I say that in a good way of like, they are going to take their work, take it to him, and he has to approve it. But he sets the bar so high that he forces everybody else around him to elevate, their quality of work.
I think you're spot on with that. And, I mentioned having some conversations in the past with people that I consider to be gurus. And one of, I'm fascinated with what musicians do because they have the ability to flip that switch at a time that they need to do it. But, I was talking to Jake Seninger of Humphreys McGee at one point, and, I was seeking some advice and some counsel from someone I consider to be a guru. And he said, Matt, there's a reason I don't carry my stuff in and out of this venue. It's not that I'm not capable of it. And on some days I probably should be doing it, but I need to be able to focus on the things that are up here not over here. He didn't say down here. It wasn't like a looking down. He said not here or over there, just basically like, and I think that's the whole thing with the guru status is like you mentioned, like with Jiro, he participated in maybe the last 10%.
He didn't need to make the rights process anymore. Somebody else did that.
But he sets the expectation.
He does
and that was the same thing Jake was saying, because when all the people that work in that organization set that equipment up and do a certain thing, and it's got to be at the level. I mean, literally, I use the word level because it's like, okay, put this dial at 7, sure, this one at 6, this one at high, this one at medium, and all that different stuff. And all those things aren't done in a manner that is suitable. The guru cannot operate effectively. But once again, back to the being able to do it. I mean, I think that's one of the things is if you're going to operate, I think this is a leadership lesson. If you're going to expect to have a level of credibility, I've always said that leadership is not something that can be appointed. It kind of occurs. Mm-hmm. And, and sometimes when I've had employee teams, if you'll hire 5 or 6 people, or maybe like we're obviously do a lot of stuff with software, sometimes you let that happen organically and see who emerges as the leader, because appointing leadership or gurus or whatever is not always effective because you don't know who that's going to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we going down the checklist of why you're a guru? Is that what this evolved into?
Yeah.
That's the last thing we need, is to call you a master and a guru. But by the way, the two are very synonymous though. Okay. So do you think that a guru needs to be adaptable?
As I'm sitting here looking at this list, that's one of the things I was thinking about is, what is the difference between somebody who thinks they're smart and they have the answer to everything, but they won't learn, they won't take any advice, they won't change, how they do things.
You didn't just describe smart.
Are they, but they think they're the guru. Like, I mean, you have people like that, though.
You just described stubborn.
I mean, you have people like that, though, that they are really smart. Maybe they're set in their ways. They're really smart about certain things, but you can't change their opinion. You become kind of an asshole too.
Well, but you just described stubborn,
mm-hmm,
and you didn't describe progressive. I think if there's one promise that we can make is that things will and always do change.
Yep.
So, I mean, and no matter what, I mean, really the one constant that you can count on in business and in life is that things will and do change. So I don't think you can be a guru. I don't think you're a good guru. I don't think you're an effective one if you don't have the ability to be adaptable and you don't have the understanding that things do and can change.
Absolutely. And I think it's like for you to say, oh, I'm a guru in internet marketing. I mean, that changes a lot every year or two, right? From different things that happen. And so, okay, you were a guru of internet marketing 17 years ago. You're going to tell everybody you're the expert, but you're behind the times 17 years, all of a sudden you're not really a guru anymore.
I bet if we did a very specific case study of fallen gurus,
mm-hmm,
I would bet that what you just described, which is the lack of adaptability, suddenly becoming stubborn, no longer taking in other input. I think the guru is open for all forms of input. And I think so, when I was at one of the many colleges that I didn't graduate from, I took a class, a sociology class, and I'll never forget this. The teacher held up a picture of a cow, and this cow was standing sideways, and it was all white. And he said, "Can any of you tell me that it actually said, is this a spotted cow?" And almost everybody said no. And a couple people were like, "We don't know. We can only see part of it." And I think that the point with that is, unless you look at things from all different angles, like you would technically have to inspect that cow. You'd have to walk around it. You'd have to maybe climb on top of it, maybe get below it and see if it had any spots before you can say, no, this is not a spotted cow. mean, are you picturing what I'm talking about here? Because like, if you don't have all of the info, all of the perspective, if you're not willing to understand and learn from all different angles, then your input and your perspective is going to be a little jaded.
Yeah, but I think maybe yes, but I think also probably one of the other traits of the guru is that they can make a decision with only 30 or 40% of the information too.
But if you have the ability, so I mean, based on what I see, this is not a spotted cow. It could be, but from my perspective, it's not. I see what your point is, but all right. So that actually brings up another one that's not on our list. How about foresight?
Yep.
I think that's really what people are often seeking from the guru. Are they not?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the key skills too, is that with a partial amount of information, they're able to understand the full picture of something and understand the potentially the problems that lie without understanding the full picture. Like they walk into the murder scene and they see the 2 or 3 things, but they can see the rest of it because they've done this so many times that they just understand how all these things relate to each other, the pattern.
Yeah, and I think that's where that senior nature of any employee that, one of the things that's been interesting, and maybe we should do an episode on what's a startup founder, because people have grossly miscalculated what that person usually is. It's actually the apparently and statistically most successful startup founders are in their early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And Hollywood leads you to believe that that's like 20.
Yeah.
And that's usually not the case. And I think a lot of that is because, much like you said, is that I think that age is actually, it is what it is, because at some point too, you slow down a little bit. And they say you have your learning years, your earning years, and your yearning years.
Mm-hmm.
So your learning years is, trying to gain that experience and understanding, so you don't walk around the corner and get punched right in the face. The earning years are the years that you actually capitalize on the skill and experience that you have. And then the yearning years is when you're kind of yearning to retire and quit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that foresight is very, very valid. I've joked around with our new sales director at Full Scale recently, asked me if I had a crystal ball. But some of it is just because you have that conversation with enough people enough times, it makes, like I told him, I was like, this process of talking to clients and helping people find solutions does not need to be complex.
There's patterns to all of it.
Right.
And exactly what you described.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, I'm a salesperson and I sell X. I talk to people all day long. Eventually you start to recognize all the patterns. You can fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and that crystal ball comment comes from like me saying, well, it wouldn't surprise me if they ask for this next, or if that occurs. And there's nothing supernatural about it. It's just like when it happens enough,
mm-hmm.
It's like in bowling, knowing that you're likely not going to pick up the 7-10 split.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I did that once.
Once, right? Like, that's my point. It's like, it's just really unlikely.
And I was at Dave and Buster's.
Where you
playing an arcade game.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. All right. So some of the things we've identified, like if you're, and part of why I think this episode is important, is understanding who you should be looking to as a guru.
Well, or if you want to become one, right? And kind of what, one of the things we had on our list here is like being an influencer. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest differences between being like, I'm an expert or I'm a master at something versus being like an industry guru. And a good example of this that you're familiar with is like Jay from Urban Necessities, right? He would be a guru of shoes.
Yep.
He is the guru.
Without a doubt.
And everybody in the industry knows that. He's one of them. And from a business perspective, if you can be an influencer at that level, it can be really valuable no matter what kind of business you're in.
Well, and I think the term influencer has a really different meaning and connotation for a lot of people, because I think some people become influencers in industries at this point without always gaining the experience. Because, like, I mean, you get some of it, but in regards to guru status, remember, we go back to the core meaning of it, and everything had to do, so much about it. You hear the words teacher, guide, leader, chief. These are all things that are associated with knowledge transfer. And if you're not transferring your knowledge, how long or can you maintain status as a guru? What do you think there? Like, if you're not teaching and transferring that knowledge, because I personally think that knowledge transfer is one of, if not the most powerful thing that you can embrace with another person.
Well, and we listed a few gurus on our notes here, and one that jumped out at me was actually Neil Patel. And if you Google anything in regards to internet marketing and SEO and stuff like that, you will find his blog post. And he is kind of the guru of internet marketing. And from, as you described, a lot of what he does and has done in the past is just giving away his knowledge. And he's openly said, like, I'm an expert at content marketing. I don't charge for any of this. I'm putting it all out there. You guys can all get value out of it. But because he has done that for so many years, he has become the industry guru at this stuff by him sharing that knowledge. And he has no doubt, benefited from that, I'm sure, in a lot of ways, because people will come to him. They're like, oh, I'm Coca-Cola and we're trying to be better at internet marketing. You seem to be the guru at this. How do I throw money at you and you come help me?
Yeah. And at that point, that's where the real knowledge comes out. Because the stuff that, you look at, like, so John Maxwell, very well known. That's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People guy. He's participated in the writing of over 70 books, 19 million copies sold. Here's the thing is, like, that's shit. If that's not guru status, then I don't know what is. Right. And you have 19 million people that have read or purchased or whatever copies. And, and I haven't been a huge John Maxwell follower, but I do quote his first habit, which is start with the end result in mind. Right. Some of these things are really valuable, and, it's that underlying thing. So you mentioned Neil Patel earlier. I said Seth Godin. Seth has written, a lot of books. I've referred to his book Tribes on the show multiple times. I think some other popular ones, like, Tim Ferriss, is almost a little more towards the traditional guru definition, because Tim is kind of like the life balance all around, guy for a lot of people. And then I think you have some industry like Eric Ries, the lean startup. Right. And I got familiar with Eric because I released $1 Million Bedroom the same week that he released Lean Startup. And I got to number 2 on the list and realized, I was like, well, shit.
Well,
so I guess the book will be number 2.
We also live in a world where there are more influencers now than there has ever been before. Right. And some of those are influencers that are like, they're on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and they're social influencers for that stuff, but they're not necessarily gurus at anything. And that might even be true in business stuff too. You got people that have a popular podcast or, whatever, right? And they might be influencers because of that, but I don't know if that makes them necessarily a guru either.
So do you have, as we kind of round out yet another episode of Startup Hustle brought to you by Fullscale.io, who are some of the gurus that you have? Who are some of your past gurus, whether they're famous or not?
Well, one of them was a guest on our show. We talk about all the time as being Yoda.
Laryl?
Yeah, like, somebody like Laryl, right? Like, he's a local guru, right? If you, I think, in the Kansas City startup, we said, who would be the guru at startup stuff? We would think of somebody like Laryl or Sandy or different people, like.
And we're referring to Laryl Holt, the founder of CarStar.
Yeah, and Sandy Kemper or other people.
But I'll never forget after we recorded, and that was like maybe like episode 12 or something. But Lyril left, and I looked at you and you said, "Man, I'm gonna be like Lyril when I grow up."
Yeah.
But that was it, and that was that. That I think that there's, and Sandy Kemper's another one. I agree with both of them. I've tried to find some abstract gurus. I look for anybody that has that. I like people that straddle that line between genius and crazy.
Uh-huh.
And because there's, much like Jiro dreams of sushi, like one of my gurus, and I've mentioned him multiple times, is Jake Seninger from Humphreys McGee, who is just a world-class guitarist and is considered to be innovative. And he's talk about adaptable. That's an improvisational band.
Mm-hmm.
So like they aren't just playing the same notes every time. The guy is so incredibly knowledgeable. Jake, how many guitar chords are there? 7,377. How many of them do you know? Well, Matt, I know all of them. And it's like, that's like an afterthought. Like, how could I be? And when you sit down and you talk to the guy, he's telling me stories about putting his guitar on a chair and then sitting across, like looking straight at it and going through every single guitar chord imaginable and visualizing playing them backwards.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but that is what guru stuff does. You mentioned Yoda earlier. I mean, how about Mr. Miyagi? Mr. Miyagi, hey, you're going to learn to sand the
yeah
and paint the fence. Okay, but I don't know why I'm doing that. Well, don't worry about why. Just get out there and paint the fence.
And that's a great experience, a great example of, there are a lot of gurus that exist that aren't necessarily industry experts or gurus or influencers. Yep. Like, just like we might say, well, my grandpa is a guru or my grandma is a guru or whatever, right? Or somebody at your company, you're like, so-and-so, if you need help with anything, he's the guru, go talk to him. But that's different than being like the industry guru of something. And I think that's part of what we're talking about here is, how do you become an industry guru and, as an entrepreneur, and how does that benefit you? And I think these days a lot of that has to be from, you mentioned earlier, like the content, the knowledge you have, you share, you're always out there, you go to trade shows, you write books, you write, blog posts, you do all these sort of things. Like, people have to know who you are for you to be a guru.
Right. But like you said, you can, I mean, there's the personal guru.
Mm-hmm.
And which, by the way, here's the thing. I don't know Seth Godin. Do you? Do you know John Maxwell or Neil Patel? I don't know those guys. I know Lyril. I know Sandy. I know some of these other people. So I think if you, find it, dude, my path to being whatever amount of success you perceive me as having, people, I have got there by finding other people in life that are doing the things that I want to do, or are doing something that is meaningful. And I sit down and I try and look, I can be a talker and I can be a great listener at the same time, because when you get around these people, it's not time to talk. It's not. And, the thing that I figured out through the different, this experiment for me with Guru Collection started with writing Balance Me. And that's actually how I got to know Lyril Holt, he was in the book. And you find that these people, they say things like, well, Matt, ships are, talking about having a lot of ships in your harbor, but ships were meant to be out at sea. And, sometimes it takes me a little, like in the episode we did with Lyril, we said, well, Lyril, tell us about yourself. Well, I'm a coward. Do you remember that? And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? You're not a coward, but it has this weird kind of like parable effect to it. And you're saying, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I try to figure out what no one's doing, and I go somewhere where they will leave me alone to get really good at it. But the main thing is like, I'm not trying to take on the giants. And, when Lyril had said that and described that, it meant so much to me, especially when it came to talking to other people. That was a level of knowledge transfer that was very evolved, because as a startup, who are you trying to take out? I need to take on Google, Amazon, and Apple.
Yeah, we're going to beat all of them.
Luck, guy. Good luck, because you're going to get trampled underfoot, and they won't even know you were there.
Yep.
So, but that is a level of guru insight and input. Like statistically, you have almost no chance. So, and by the way, that went very well with your interview that was in $1 Million Bedroom, talking about how most of the successful people that you've met along the way had become experts or innovators in something that was niche. So, yeah. All right. So I'm not on your guru list.
No,
Damn it.
not yet.
So what are you? It's because I'm so young. It's because I'm young and youthful, right? Yeah. And by the way, before we started recording, Matt and I can see each other on video. He pointed out how old I'm looking and that my hair's falling out. So make sure if you find gurus in your life, they support your dreams of being young and having full heads of hair. Is that how that works?
Absolutely.
So rather in lieu of the founders freestyle, let's do this. What do you want to become a guru at?
Oh man,
What's your ideal guru avatar look like?
So at this point, I'm getting ready to have my 4th son, and
Yes.
I'm a guru at having baby boys.
Parenting?
Is that count? Can I be a guru of having baby boys?
Yes, because better you than me. I mean, on that level, but the guru at things crashing. So I think for me, man, like I think that's a tough question. Is like here I am asking myself tough questions, but I mean, I think if I have to be a guru, I like the business category. I think sales and marketing is what I find a lot of passion around. It's not necessarily the straightforward nature of it, but I like the whole field of commerce. And I think if you're going to be a guru, it has to be something that you are inherently fascinated with and driven to learn as much about. You talk about like Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Like I loved watching that show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I loved that movie for like 50 different reasons. And I mean, business, dedication, obsession. I think I continue to seek knowledge just about I'm fascinated with what gives people the ability to innovate and be creative, especially when they can turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So like those are some of the things I'm chasing. I don't know if I directly answered the question, but I think that all that, and I think that one of the things I've learned is you can almost learn more from finding gurus that aren't in the industry that you're in.
Sure.
Like go and find the similarities. That's why I'm so fascinated with musicians, but I found other people that are in different categories that are you mentioned JC Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much from working with Jay about the different, he's an influencer, but also a guru of sorts. And and that's the fashion world basically,
right.
But he looks at stuff and be like, no, people are going to fucking hate that. And I'm like, Nike doesn't seem to think so. And then it comes out and it's just no one wants it. So I don't know what gives people that foresight or whatever. But what I am going to do, Matt, is I need to get back to home. We're stuck at home. Wait, office. If we keep saying home, we're going to continue to be stuck at home. So I'll tell you, I'm going to get to work on figuring out how we get out of home.
Good idea.
See you next time.